Mhm. All right, I think we are good to go. All right, so welcome to the frog in my throat, to the weekly podcast recording. We are going to talk about the cause is the cure on today's episode. We've done this talk before, and it's really foundationally what all of our programs and systems and everything are at their root. That's what this is. We're always learning new things and researching and adding to our book of knowledge. So we've come up with a few more things to add in and little tweaks and changes. So if you've watched this talk before, you're still going to get some new stuff from this one today. And if you've never heard us talk about this, this is a really good one just to really understand where we're coming from, how health and wellness are perceived, how they come about in today's environment, and all that stuff. So definitely share if you have, friends and family that you think would need to understand this. It's a really important topic. So we might go long today. This is one that we really like to talk about.
Yeah, and it's so important, and everyone needs this. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so different from the conventional model that we've all been ingrained to, think we understand. So, yeah, this is just super important, and really, you could share this with anyone. Definitely share this with anyone that's experiencing symptoms. Um, but really, everyone needs to know this, and it's a very simple idea. But it's a lot, so we should just dive in, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the title sums up the whole thing, right? The cause is the cure. So and we call it environmental causation. The cause is the cure. The cause is the environment. So environmental causation causes symptoms. So if you are experiencing any kind of symptoms at all, and those can be something that you've been diagnosed with, like an autoimmune condition, it could be cancer, it could be MS, or it could just be random symptoms like you just don't feel quite right, you have low energy, brain fog, it can be
Right.
anxiety, irritability. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. Skin issues, autism, ADHD, and kids.
Anything that is outside of being a whole healthy person. Like if you
Exactly.
could imagine your perfect health and wellness, how you felt, anything outside of that is caused by environmental factors. There's very, very few, just a very small percentage that may be like genetic defect physically, structurally that you're born with, but almost everything is turned on or started, even if you're predisposed, it's, got that little spark from the environment.
Right. So, there's so much loud space right now. Especially, not just mostly with conventional medicine, but even or on the natural side, people are talking about it's genetics. It's all genetics. So get genetic testing. I have this gene, I have this gene, I have this gene. So you may have already heard us say this before, but listen to this. Okay, so 95% of all chronic health conditions, whatever it may be, is caused by your environment, your diet, your lifestyle. So that would be that environmental causation, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, that big buzzword right now about genetic testing, it's just because that technology is now um, at a financial point that they can offer it to the public. But the thing is, they're testing to see if you are predisposed so that they can then do something about it. So it's not testing to, like, if you're predisposed to breast cancer, they're not testing to see if you currently have breast cancer. They're just seeing if you might have it in the future so then they can, suggest that you get, your breasts removed to stop that from happening. And we're looking at this same sort of idea from the other side. You don't need to know if you're predisposed. Everyone is, there's so much bad stuff in the environment. You need to be proactive to be healthy, but we want you to be proactive foundational health, not major surgeries or gene therapy or medications before something even comes up.
Right. So that quote, so 95% of all chronic health conditions is environment. 5% is genetic, is what Jenny's talking about. But epigenetics means that what you do with your environment, diet, lifestyle, and in your environment, will turn those genes on or off, like a light switch or like a dimmer switch. So when, going along with what Jenny's saying, when you go get the genetic testing done, and now they tell you that you have, you are genetically predisposed to XYZ, cancer or whatever, and now they're recommending taking your breasts off or a hysterectomy, you can also, what you do with your environment, turn that gene off.
Yeah.
So, you either go the invasive route that didn't fix anything, or you fix what caused that genetic predisposition in the first place,
Right.
that off, and then you also don't have to deal with it. So, we like always the non-invasive route.
Yeah.
That's what that is. So that's what it's all about, epigenetics. And like Jenny said, the whole genetic testing thing is ever since they completed the genome project, I think they completed it in 2014, where they could read DNA sequence, protein sequence of anything. That's when they came up with this genetic testing. Right. But you can turn that gene off. So that's the number one key here. Okay. So then we will tell you how to do that. But that is why the cause is the cure.
Right.
In a nutshell. So that is why you can resolve your health issues, you can restore your health, and then you can prevent anything from coming back.
Right.
Okay. So we'll break this down for you. So what is environmental causation? We kind of just touched on that, but it is the environment. Environment's just kind of a catch-all word. You hear that a lot now too with all the climate change stuff. I mean, you just hear environment all the time. So what is environment? So your external environment is everything outside of you. So your external environment is anything that is not you, if that makes sense. So that's your house, that's this room I'm in, that's the outside, that's that's just it's pretty
right. It's probably what you think of when someone just says environment. Like the planet is the big one. Well, I guess beyond the planet there's more, but and then there's your country, and then your state, and then your city, and then your place of work, and your car, and your house, and your living room, and your bedroom. Like it just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So the larger scale environment is where you don't have a whole lot of control. So when we talk about your personal environment, it's those places where you do have control and you spend most of your time. So your home, if you work, then your office space, if you travel or you commute, your car is a big one. The places where you spend time for kids at school, all of those places. And then you get this big, and then it becomes your internal environment.
Right. And so if you are experiencing symptoms, it's that external environment. Now your internal environment is everything that is you, right? So your thoughts, where your focus is, your perspective, all those type of things are you, right? So they also directly affect your internal environment. So when your internal environment becomes metabolic chaos, that's when symptoms.
Yeah.
So metabolic chaos is things like, hold on, I gotta put my dog outside.
No problem. Yeah, so that anything that's you, like she said, your thoughts, but then also, your physical body, and what you put into it, what's going on, all of that stuff.
Right. And so then you get things like leaky gut, you get infections, you get parasites, you get, dysbiosis, you get autoimmune reactions, and that can be to foods, that can be to toxins, that can be to anything. Then you get inflammation, you get adrenal fatigue, you get, allergy sensitivities, you get nutritional deficiencies. I mean, that goes on and on and on. But when that type of thing starts happening, that's when you become symptomatic.
Right.
And here's a little tidbit that I actually learned the other day, that autoimmune conditions, which clearly is a symptom, those can start up to 10 to 20 years before you even experiencing any symptoms.
Right, because it's internal. You might not even notice those internal symptoms that are growing and growing until they start overflowing. So, and depending what part of the body it is, some things you don't feel, like you just don't, until they start affecting other systems or organs or processes. So it can, you don't have, it's kind of like you don't have to have pain to have a problem. You want to be proactive, and that's why we talk about precautionary principle and preventative health, because once you're feeling those symptoms, it's probably been going on a long time.
Right. And but the problem is that people, pain is the big motivator. So usually people don't take any action. They don't want to change their life. They're happy the way things are. They don't want to change anything because they're healthy. They feel good.
Right. And pain can be, it doesn't have to be like acute, ow. It can be, the pain of not sleeping, of having stress and anxiety, of trying to get through your day just with no energy and brain fog. Like those are all pain points. It doesn't have to be like, physical, ow,
Yeah.
ow, but that's there too.
Right. Yeah. But but a lot of times people don't take action until they are experiencing these symptoms. And yes, so we want you to understand that this comes a long time before. And also, I'm going to shut my door again. I'm sorry about now that she's gone. But also autoimmune conditions of any kind, those usually come in pairs or even triplets. So even if you have one, you have another one, or you have another one right under the surface coming up. So
Right.
that's kind of a side point to think about.
Yeah,
But
and remember that you can have these issues going on well before you have the label. So, it's if you have one labeled autoimmune condition, you probably have another one, or you'll get labeled with another one. But they're going on whether you have the label or not.
right, exactly. So what we want you to remember is that your external environment, oh, we didn't give examples of the external environment. So the internal environment, we went over that. The external environment would be things like, there's so much, like the chemtrails, the spraying of our skies, the spraying of our crops, what is happening to our food, what they're putting in food, medications that you're taking, even no matter what that pharmaceutical might be, even supplements, there's all kinds of garbage in those, what you're eating, what you're drinking, what you're thinking. There's just so much. And there's a
Right.
lot of control.
And then also, just like we said, internal environments, your thoughts, your outlook, but externally, war, famine, droughts, stress, those things are also negative toxins in the larger environment.
Right, the EMFs, a lot of, if you guys listen to our last two podcasts on what's happening right now,
Yeah.
All of those things that we mentioned, those would all be external environment. And those are just what's happening now. It's just, there is just so much. And so literally all this disease, all this chronic illness, all these conditions, these symptoms people are experiencing, it's not just people, it's
Yeah.
dogs have autoimmune conditions now, cats have autoimmune conditions. That is not normal. But this is all happening because of this man-made just shit show, for a word,
It really isn't a nicer word.
that has been created, that we live in.
Yeah.
So you literally, there is no, I shared this quote the other day, but it's not if you're going to get sick, it's when you're going to. There is no out for anyone unless you adopt these principles that we're giving you. I mean,
Right.
that's just where we are right now.
Yeah. And this idea of the cause is the cure is really our like mission to get people to understand this. So then in a couple generations, hopefully that understanding passes along so that people know this when they're raising kids, and then those kids just innately know that, and then maybe it can kind of turn it all around. But where we're at right now, you have to do the work because it doesn't start like you didn't know this when you were little and your parents didn't have to deal with this. I mean, kids are born with all these chemicals already in their body. Their umbilical cord is polluted, and that's just normal environment. This isn't like, oh, those people live in this terrible toxic place. No, that's average.
Yeah, I think we talked about the other day, we were
Yeah.
talking the forever chemicals, and they did, I mean, way back when we started this 15-20 years ago, they took samples of whales in Antarctica, and even they had them in their bodies. Yeah. It's everywhere. It's prevalent on the planet. It sounds super scary, overwhelming, and then we have people that tell us, well, we're all going to die anyway, so there's nothing we can do. Well, that's not
right.
But you have to really take what we're going to tell you today and do this and implement it in your life. And like Jenny said, this will turn, like this whole conventional medical system, everything about that is part of this external environment that's causing illness. It's keeping you in this cycle. So that has to change. All these things have to change, and they will slowly change, but it will take time. It's generational. It's like generational trauma,
which is also epigenetics.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, good point. It is. Yeah. So yes, we kind of got sidetracked.
We did. Sorry, that was probably my fault.
No, we always do this. We're good. We just get super ramped up and passionate, and then we're like,
yeah.
But the whole point is what is happening in your external environment causes the dysfunction internally. What is happening then in your internal environment causes the symptoms then you are experiencing. So if you think about this too, we always say health is a two-way street. So your external environment causes this internal dysfunction. Now you have symptoms. The only way you can go, unless you stop what you're doing, is down.
I mean, you just continue on that same path and it's just going to get worse and worse and worse, because that's what it's been doing over time. Even if you felt healthy or you didn't have any problems, like they were building up. Most things don't just happen. They have a build up, a foundation, a bad one, before they really start to, static space. You are always going one way or the other. So you're either going towards health or away from health.
Right. And so you have to stop that decline. And the only way to stop that is to change what you've been doing. And you have to be able to turn things around. So we will talk about the cure. But make sure that you know that, because that's a big one for people. People want an easy fix. They want a product. There's so much of that out there now. They want something easy. They want the results, but they don't want to do the work. But that just is not how it works.
No.
I mean, it really is. It's a very simple idea. And it's not that hard if you really embrace it. But it is a simple idea. But you have to do the work. And if you think about in your life, there is nothing, if you're going to be successful in anything, and our things are, of course, our health and then entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah.
But in anything in your life, even if you're a pianist or an artist, or you're a bricklayer, whatever it is, if you're going to be successful in that, there's hard work.
Yeah.
You got to put in the work. I mean, you just do. And we talk about being an entrepreneur all the time, because of course we have our PHP program that we love, and that's amazing because you have freedom of time, you have this freedom, but it's not easy either. Nothing is easy. If you're going to
No.
be,
And especially if you try to figure it out on your own, like the information on all of this is out there. You can spend your effort, focused on figuring it all out yourself and trial and error and working through it. But believe us, it takes a long time. It is not easy to pull all that information together, to build a system, to test it, to prove that it works, to keep up the research. So that's really what our programs do. Like we went through that so that we can share it with others. And it's simple enough, but figuring it out and building your own system is not easy. And doing it on your own is not easy either. Some of these lifestyle changes, because that's really what most of it is, it can be hard to change habits. It can be hard to remember why you're doing it, especially if you're not feeling bad anymore. So having that community, having that input where we keep up with what's going on, keeping you in the loop, empowering you, that's really important.
right. And those are all external environmental factors. And if you think about it, that is your life. And you need, I mean, that you need that in an area of your life as well. You need a sense of community, you need people supporting you, need people loving you, building you up, all of those things will have you be successful. If you have no support, no community, people beating you down, all kinds of things, then you're not going to be successful anyway. And that is completely off topic.
Not really. That's environment. We
But
talked about environment.
yeah, but it's true. There's just so much that comes into play. That's the thing. But then the cure. So all of that was the cause, right? So that is what is causing this dysfunction in everyone's body. Everyone, not even, like I said, not even people. And that's even the planet. You
Yeah.
heard all the climate change stuff right now. Well, no, it is still exactly the same thing that is affecting all of us, because we all are one giant environment. Like Jenny
Yep.
said, big picture out here, we are all one. We literally are all one. So it's affecting everything. But the cure is also the cure for us, for your family, for your pets, for the external environment, for the microbiome in the soil, the giant picture, it's all the same. The cure is the same. So the cure, and again, we'll break it down a little bit. It starts with your focus, starts with your mind. It's where you put your focus, right? So we always talk about, you have to put your focus on things you can control. So
Yes.
those people that say, well, we're all going to die anyway, I'm just going to do whatever we want, they're just giving in. That's victim.
Right. I mean, and they're partially right. Everyone's going to die. We're not saying this cures that, but
Yeah,
think about your
dying if you walk out and Route 9 out
right.
here. Us,
It's your quality of life. Like you could live to be 95, but spend the last 20 years of your life in a home with pain and brain fog, and you can't move, and it's awful. Like you're alive, but you're not really living. Or you could live to be 95 and, spend your day driving yourself around, exercising, gardening, enjoying your family. And there's such a huge difference. So that's what that, defeatist mentality, that's where most of those people end up, is that terrible quality of life where if you take action, you're going to thrive.
Right. Like my little neighbor that lives next door, he's so cute. He's like 90 some, and he's got several acres. He's always out there mowing his yard. He takes his garbage out. He's chopping wood. He comes running out to say hi. He is like spry and living life, and he is in his 90s. Yeah, that's where you want to be. Here's another fact: dementia. So almost everything can be turned around.
Yeah.
You can't get to the point where there is no return. I mean, there really is. You get to the point where you are so sick, you're like, if you have cancer and it has run rampant through your body, yeah, you can change everything, but maybe you're not going to make
Right.
it.
Because that physical structural foundation has been damaged to a point where you can't fix it.
Right. There's a lot of instances, but that's the thing. You can turn this around as long as you take action within enough time. But I don't know where I was going with that. I got sidetracked. But anyway, well, I was talking about your focus. So anyway, put your focus where you have control. That is the first piece. You have to make that decision.
Yeah.
There is so much we can control. And when we talk about environment, we always break down the external environment. Remember, the external environment is everything outside of you. So we break that down to external and immediate environment. And your immediate environment is what Jenny was talking about in the beginning: your home, your car, sometimes your work, maybe your cubicle, or, if you choose to leave your job and then work from home, or, all those things that you have control over, that
Right.
you do all day long. Your food, your movement, your thoughts, okay, we're being sprayed all over the place. We have all these EMFs and the satellites, everything we were talking about in the other podcast, but those are clearly out of our control, right? But within your control, you can hardwire your house. You can, choose to not have so many devices. You can choose not to wear a smartwatch. You can choose what to eat. You can choose natural products in your
Right.
home.
And you can take steps also to kind of remediate. So things like air filter, water filtration, like those are where if you don't have control, you can kind of improve your immediate environment.
Right. So there is so much. And then your internal environment, once you get the dysfunction going on in your body, it is hard to turn around, especially on your own, but you can. You've got to heal up the leaky gut. Is the only way to get rid of those autoimmune reactions you're having. You have to get rid of the infections. You have to balance your pH. You have, there's so many things, but you have control over it
Right.
with choices that you make. So once you put your focus on those pieces where you have control, and I mean, it is so much, it's huge. And again, that's another big part why it's hard to do it on your own. But once you do that, your body now has the ability to actually heal.
Right. So think about all those things in your environment that you have control over that we talked about, that big list that we've got going. Those are all interferences. They're all interfering with the natural way that your body should work. And if you remove them, then your body can get back to processing like it should. So, you think about like a radio station or, anything like that, where if you block that signal, if you have something in between it, it doesn't work right. But if you remove it, then it goes back to it's the way it should be working. So that's why we say if you remove the interference, then your body can heal itself. So you're not like proactively looking for a medication or a surgery. You're looking for those interferences in your environment and focusing on what you have control over, removing, replacing, remediating.
Right. And, even like with a medication, that can give you the false illusion that you're healed, but whatever is causing those symptoms in the first place is still growing and festering and getting bigger underneath. And remember, medication is still that external environment. It's a poison. I mean, all medications are poisons. They're used to they'll block like a pathway in the body so you don't feel the pain, or it turns around your diarrhea, whatever. It might fix something symptomatically, but whatever is causing that is still going or growing underneath. But so you have to, everything that you control, focus on. So your immediate environment, remember, everything outside of you that you have control over. Your internal environment, you can control. And then I was going to say something when you said about the body has, can heal. I had a really good thought I was going to interject there, and I don't remember what it was. Oh, I was going to tell you my analogy on the dodgeball.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's such a good analogy, and I swear nobody gets it except for finally somebody I told the other day. She's like, "I love that analogy. I'm going to write it down." So I'll tell you right
You
now,
had to be the very specific person in the dodgeball game to get the analogy.
my analogy is when all this is coming in, from your external environment, and now your internal environment is also causing problems. It's like when we were kids and played dodgeball, and I was clearly the person that was always like, a dodgeball, but all those balls coming at you and you can't do anything about it. You're just being bombarded. So that is like your body. And then once you actually take control where you do have control, it slows down all those balls. And so now maybe you're getting a couple balls. You actually have time to pick up your own ball and throw it.
Right.
So it slows that down. And
Yeah.
then
So removing the interference is like taking some of those players out.
right, because otherwise you are just so overwhelmed. Your body is so overwhelmed, it can't. And another thing to think about too is when you get that internal dysfunction, you get those infections going, you get inflammation. Inflammation is now gone systemic, you get acidic pH of your body, and now your body has to pull minerals from your bones, and maybe you can't assimilate your protein, and so it's pulling, protein from your muscles, all to keep you alive, keep you in homeostasis. All of that is adding to everything going on. So your body, it can't keep up constantly. And you're just going to get worse and worse and worse. But another way to think about it, and if you guys have followed us at all, you've probably heard this analogy, but it's our threshold bucket analogy. Or you can think of a bathtub. So you have a bucket and it has a drain. The drain is your body's ability to process all of this and eliminate it from your body, but it can't keep up. So the drain is plugged, the bucket is overflowing from all of this environmental causation coming in, and the overflow is the symptoms. Yep. So when we take away the interference with what we can control, now all of a sudden that drain is cleared and your body can process all of these external.
Right. And we don't have control over everything. So things will still come in, but your body has that natural ability to deal with, process, detox, eliminate those things as long as you are keeping the interferences you have control over away. As long as you're slowing down what's pouring in, then your body can handle what you can't.
And if you think about the bucket or the bathtub analogy, as long as that water, is just below the lip of the bucket or the bathtub, you're not going to feel symptoms. You're not going to have symptoms.
Right.
It's never going to be empty just because of the environment we live in, but it will bring it down low enough that your body can deal. And then once it fills back up, once it overflows, that's when you become symptomatic.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind. Oh, I know what I was going to say like a half hour ago about the dementia.
Oh, yeah.
I was going
That's
to
funny.
say, I got sidetracked saying, you get to a point where there's no coming back. But with dementia, and Alzheimer's, they're finding that, with people that come in and they're experiencing all these neurological issues like anxiety, they can't think straight, they can't remember. If it's from inflammation, like inflammation of the brain, the gut is compromised, gut brain barrier, that can be resolved. And
Yeah.
we see that all the time. That can turn around. But once you get true dementia or Alzheimer's, you can't turn that around because your brain, different areas of your body's constantly replacing cells, but different areas of your body replace them faster or slower. Like your gut, it overturns every couple of days. Your brain cells take a long time, like years to replace brain cells. So that's why you can't turn around dementia.
Right. Because it's made structural changes and damage, physical damage in the brain at that point. But yeah, there's a lot of really good research on that gut brain connection and all of those, especially Alzheimer's, and how that can help turn that around early. But think about it, if you have good, well balanced gut health, then you won't have to get to that point to turn it around.
Right. Exactly. But I guess where I was going with that too is that dementia is a terrible thing. It is just terrible. And it is terrible for your family members and your friends, your people around you. And then you're going to live, your body could live 30 more years with you with that.
Yeah.
That was kind of like what Jenny had mentioned earlier. That is no way to live. I mean, that
Yeah.
is, um, so anyway, again, that's another reason you don't want to get to that point. You want to stop it beforehand. Um, what else? Let's see. I guess that was it. I was going to mention too, sometimes people don't believe their body can heal.
Right.
A really simple way to think about it is if you think about you cut your hand, that cut will heal, right? You
Right.
cut yourself, it will heal. You break a bone, it heals. Bone is living tissue. A lot of
Right.
times people don't think of bones as living tissue, but it will heal.
Yeah. Think about that cut, that knife. So you cut your finger with a knife. Experience. If you leave that knife in there, the cut's not going to heal. That's the interference. So you remove the interference, you clean up the environment, you do some work like, keeping it clean, keeping it covered so that you're supporting it while it's healing, and then it goes away. And, in the future, you prevent it by coming back by not bringing in that interference. It's the same.
But the point is, the body, you didn't heal that.
No.
You took away the interference, and like Jenny said, maybe you clean it off, but you didn't heal it. Your body has this amazing innate ability to heal itself. And same with the bone, that is a time for conventional medicine. You go and get a cast, but
Yes.
that doesn't heal your bone. It doesn't heal your arm. That is only so that your arm, after it heals, will be straight and usable.
Right. That's creating an environment where it can heal itself. There's no interference making the bone go.
Right. But if you don't go to the doctor and get the cast, your body is still going to heal that bone. You might have an L shape in your forearm that shouldn't be there, but it, excuse me, it will heal.
Yeah, because your body also has an amazing ability to keep itself alive in terrible situations. Like, as humans, we are able to survive through things that most other living beings can't. Like, you can have broken bones, you can, have this terrible environment, and your body will figure out a way to keep on surviving. You're not going to be healthy, you're not going to feel good, but your body's main goal is to keep you alive, and it has a huge ability to do that. So it's not that hard to then think about how it has an amazing ability to actually heal and keep you well.
Right. So another good example of that is like osteoporosis.
Mm-hmm.
That is a completely you nobody should have that. But the reason is because your body is keeping you alive. So your body becomes acidic. Your interstitial fluid becomes acidic from cell die-off, from toxins coming in, from waste products, sedentary lifestyle, your lymphatic system isn't going. I mean, that's a whole nother topic, but you get this pH imbalance in your body. Your body has to be at a 7, like a neutral pH, 7 to 7.5 pH all the time, or you would die.
Yeah.
So now you've created this acidic environment, so your body has to neutralize it to keep you alive. So that's where so many teeth issues, because your body will pull minerals from your teeth, pull minerals from your bones, like I said a few minutes ago. But the point of pulling it is to keep that pH level where it needs to be to keep you alive. So now you're alive, but now you have osteoporosis and very brittle bones. And if you do break your arm, it shatters rather than just a break.
Right.
But you're alive.
Yes.
Fall out. But you know what? You're alive.
Yeah. So that's also that same line of thinking with, well, we're all going to die. Well, think about all of that. Like, those are the things that occur when you're not taking into consideration your environment, what you're doing, what you're putting in your body, what you're putting in your thoughts. That's why the cause is the cure. They're all the same things. It's just whether you're, doing the right thing or letting things happen to you or choosing the wrong thing. You have to make the correct choices. You have to take just you have to be in control, have to be empowered and feel like you can do something about it, and then take action.
It's kind of like that other analogy. We are queen of analogies.
We're on a big analogy roll today.
But you know, if you listen to our first podcast of this year, we were talking about that analogy with the wave, right? You want to
Oh
ride
yeah.
the wave rather than being pulled under in the undertow. So it's kind of the same thing. If you're focusing on what you have control over, so your body can deal with what is out of your control, you're riding that wave, right? If you just go, okay, I'm not changing anything because I'm gonna die, you know, you are now in the undercurrent and you're just being tossed around.
Yeah.
Whatever's going to happen to you, you have zero control over that. So there's another analogy for you. I was going to say though, what I had written down, you know, okay, so this really is, like I said, it's simple. We just told you. If you took what we just told you in the last 40 minutes or however long we've been talking,
41.
41 minutes, and did that, you could change your life. But the reason why people fail or don't do it or are not successful or give up, you know, it's kind of like New Year's resolutions, even. It's overwhelming and it's hard. And it's like what we're talking about. If you don't have support, if you don't have accountability, if you have to do all this research yourself, and so much is happening, you know, right now around us and to us, you have to keep up on it constantly. And
Yeah.
it's so much. So that's why people just don't do it or are not successful.
Right. And that's probably part of that mindset about, I'm going to do what I want because I'm going to die anyway. Like we keep coming back to that person. But some people, that's kind of like a way to protect themselves because they're so overwhelmed. They don't know where to start. They're afraid of what they might have to do or that they can't fix things because of the point they're at. So you have to really start with your mindset, work through that, figure out why you're making these changes, which is health and wellness and thriving. It's kind of selfish almost if you understand this concept and you do nothing and you put yourself where you have to be taken care of for years by your family. It's a little bit selfish. And if you're thinking about what we're talking about with the smaller internal environment and how that makes waves, you're also creating a terrible global environment for the next couple generations. So it's selfish in that way too. Like once you have this information, you have to take action on it. If it seems overwhelming and scary and you just want to block it all out, that's a mindset thing. You got to sit down and figure out why you're so afraid. If it's because you don't know where to start, then get a support system. We're great for that. Our preventive health practitioners are great for that, but you don't have to work with us. Just find someone to support you. If you're trying to do it on your own, it's going to add to that overwhelm. It's going to add to that fear. And it's going to be hard to get that mindset of hope, of there is a cure, there is a way to turn this around. I can thrive. That's hard to just force on yourself unless you're seeing it and understanding it from an external point of view.
And especially since people are told, you know, people are in this conventional system and they're told there is no cure. There is no turn it around. You know, people, I know so many people right now that have been through or are going through cancer treatments, and nobody addresses mindset. Nobody addresses the food they're eating. Nobody addresses their environment. I mean, they're just not, they don't know. People feel like there's no hope. There's no way to turn things around. I can't tell you, this week even, I've heard several people say they feel like they're going to die. Like if they don't get help, they're going to die. Or they just feel like they're not getting answers. They don't know what to do. Their test results are coming back fine, but they feel like they're dying. I mean, you hear people say that over and over. And like in the years we've been doing this, we've heard that so many times. I felt that way like 2 decades ago. there's just so many people, and they just don't know. So many people don't know, but a lot of people just, that's the other, when you feel that bad and that discouraged and have no hope, it is exactly what Jenny said. It's so hard. I mean, you can know you need to think positive and change your perspective and all of that, but it's so hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, on your own.
Yeah. Yeah, which is why we do what we do. We want to make sure people know that, hey, other people are going through this. There is a way to turn it around. We have a proven system. It's going to make some positive change. You don't have to spend years figuring it out. Like that's what the Take Your Health Back Now program does. It shortens that timeline. Like here, if you try to do it on your own, but if you work with us, that is so much faster. Plus, you've got all that support lifelong in that community. So, and there's other ways to do it. We personally think ours is the best, but
They're really very unique in the fact that nobody else is doing this. I mean, like I said, there's so much out there now on a product or a
right.
detox or mold remediation or parasite cleanse, or there's just a million different things, or the vaccine or a pharmaceutical or a supplement
Yeah,
or
or even things like energy healing and that side of things. Like there could be little good pieces mixed in with the bad pieces, but unless you look at the whole picture, it's never going to get all the way better. So, if you only focus on the one thing, all of this other stuff that's still going on is going to slow that down. So that one thing could be great, but it can't fix all of it. So you got to look at everything so that it can all heal at the same time and you can actually build a foundation so you don't slip back into that. Like that bucket doesn't just immediately overflow again.
right. Yeah. Well, that's pretty much what we wanted to tell you. So I hope you guys watch this to the end or listen to it and really, um, try this out, share it.
Yeah.
Literally, if everybody just stood up and said, I'm getting off this gerbil wheel, I'm going to do this, we would completely turn this around. And like Jenny said, in a few generations, there would be no autoimmune conditions,
Right.
no cancer. There would be no, I mean, just all the, I could make a list of symptoms and it like, and it would just be, like rolling down the hallway. It's amazing the amount of symptoms that everyone is experiencing. It's insane. Ah,
Yes. So if this resonates with you, share it. This is something that people don't understand. And a lot of times, people who are in that situation might not share their journey or like how much it's affecting them until they hear, like, wow, there is something I can do about it. And we are this year, if you're listening live, we're in the beginning of 2024. If not, you already know what I'm about to say. We're trying to do a lot more like challenges, just things that for our audience that may not have worked with us or be Take Your Health Back Now members, just some little things that resources they can use to just get started on this journey and implement day to day. So that's really our what we're working for this year is help making sure that we're providing those resources to our bigger audience, not just to our people who are already members. We have all kinds of stuff for them. So if you are a member, you know that we have all these great resources to support you. But if you're not, look forward to those things. Um, we've got a challenge coming up on the 5th of February. If you're listening to it before then, head over to our Facebook group and join or just check out, our email list, message us to get involved in that. If not, you can keep looking because we're going to keep doing these throughout the year.
or you can just work with us,
Yeah.
coaching, or work with one of our PHPs. Also, if you want to, I mean, that if you followed us at all, we are so passionate about this. And literally, this is the change that we need to see in the world, right?
Yeah.
And so we also need people using our system, so if you're interested in the PHP program, if you know your chiropractor, that's awesome, but they're not teaching a foundational level, share it with them too, because we need everybody teaching the same system. This causes the cure.
Yeah.
It could be in anywhere, but once it spreads, it's like that ripple effect that Jenny mentioned. It spreads, more and more people will learn, and more people will be empowered. But the thing with our system, I was going to say earlier, we're always talking about our proven system, but what that means is that we have worked with so many people and we have proven results.
Right.
This is based on tests, this is based on clinical work, this is based on the outcomes. So there's no guesswork. It's just
Right.
done. It's all done, and it's proven results. So that's what we mean when we're always saying our proven system.
Yes, and that's how we shorten that time period for those positive improvements to happen, because we've really put in the work to make sure that we can do that for, it doesn't matter what your labels and your symptoms are. And if you kind of process what we've been saying for the last 45, 50 minutes, then you start to understand that if you look at your internal environment, your immediate environment, then your larger than the global environment, like it goes both ways. This is where the symptoms come in, but this is where the change happens. So it would make sense that you look at the roots and you work on those instead of the symptoms. So that root cause that we focus on really works no matter what your symptom tree has blossoming. So that's a hard concept for a lot of people who've been in the conventional medical cycle for a long time. So if you have a lot of labels, you have 15 specialists and all these doctors, you're used to looking at things from a certain way. So it can take a little bit of thinking through it to look at it from the point of view where we are. We are not disease focused, we are wellness focused. So we want to remove interference, support the body while it's healing, and then prevent those interferences from coming back.
Right. We don't treat anything.
Yeah.
And that's our tree back here behind us. Exactly what Jenny was just describing. But even something like a naturopath or an herbalist or acupuncture, energy healing, all that kind of stuff, those are awesome mentalities. But they're treating still the branches of the tree.
Right.
Like, without treating the roots. So even if you're getting some kind of homeopathic remedy, it might be awesome and super helpful, but it's still working up here in the symptoms where you have to address these. Because if you address all of the roots just down here, we don't even touch the symptoms, just the roots, then the roots are gone. Well, now all the symptoms are gone too.
Right.
And this tree, handy, they're right behind me. This tree where you do have symptoms, but they're, we talked about this before. You feel great, you're joyful, you can do anything, you feel empowered, you can sleep well, you have good GI system working, all the things you want to have. You have purpose. Those are the symptoms of the wellness tree, because you have balanced those roots. And those
Right. You're focusing where you have control on those roots. So now you're thriving.
right. And those roots all, like we've said this whole last hour, come down to environmental causation. It is environment. Okay. So hopefully you learned lots today, and then you enjoyed, and share and like and do all those things.
Yes. And connect with us if you haven't subscribed. We're on YouTube, on our podcast channels, and our free Facebook group if you want more information like this in your daily life.
Yeah. All right. Talk to you soon.
Yes.